Hi, I'm Jade Terrio, and this is the Experiment Podcast, a podcast where we give soul to practical and logical personal development concepts, and we give legs and feet to the magical, the mystical, and the woo-woo. This is a space where I take all of the mindset, somatic, and psychological and scientific concepts, and I put them to the test in my own life. I'm experimenting, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And I'm giving you all of the juicy details about it. If you've listened to the last few episodes, you've probably gotten the hint that I've been focusing pretty heavily on nervous system regulation and nervous system safety. And I want to kick this off by saying that I am a very process-oriented person. Whenever I dive deep into anything, any task, my brain works in procedure. It's what's step one, what's step two, what's step three, all the way to the end of the task. And the same thing works with my approach to healing. And again, it's just kind of the way my brain works. And I've learned to appreciate that about myself. And so my brain very much is like, okay, healing. What is healing? Step one, what is step one to healing, to accomplishing this task, to finishing this task? Even though I very much know in my brain that healing is not a task and there is no end to it per se. But I've started to just ask that question and ask why sometimes when I dedicate so much time and energy to one facet of this healing work and it just doesn't stick for me. Is it because of maybe that modality is just not best suited for me, or is it not suited for me right now? Or is there something standing in the way that I'm not doing first? And what I've come to find most of the time for myself is the answer is a mixture of all three of those things. But oftentimes with healing work, we live in a very trendy society where self-care and healing, quote unquote, is a trend. It's something people do for clout, not necessarily for rewiring our brains, unlearning, and becoming the best version of ourselves. And as an observer of this, and as a person who cares very much about personal development, I've found myself questioning why all of the books I've read and all of the podcasts I've listened to have just, the knowledge is there. The science is incredible. Even the mystical and magical part, I love it. Like I thrive in this, but something has been missing, and I could not quite put my finger on it until about little more than 6-7 months ago. I started, again, my brain is process oriented. And if you are watching this on YouTube, which is where you can watch the full video of this, you can see that I'm holding up one of my journal entries. And I started mapping out a framework for healing, just in a way that made sense for me and for my journey. And this might not resonate with you, and that's totally okay. Ball it up, throw it away for yourself. But for me, I started asking myself, what would step one be of this framework? And part of that was really going inside of myself and asking myself, okay, and part of mapping out this procedure is, okay, what would step one be? And for me, what I was realizing, and this is my personal experience and what has driven this experiment, is I am chronically dehydrated. I have a very hard time drinking water. I don't like drinking water. I like sugary, bubbly things, and it's just a fact about me. And so it's something that I'm working on building a healthy relationship with water, but I do not have one. Like I said, chronically dehydrated. And I'm noticing myself trying to do all of this deep trauma work when I am dehydrated. I also chronically skip breakfast because many mornings I wake up and I'm nauseous and then I'm in a rush and I don't have time to eat breakfast. And so I'm also hungry a lot of times. Or maybe I'm not hungry, but I'm not nourishing my body in the ways that it needs to be nourished. And so my basic needs as a human being, the very foundational needs, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those very basic ones are not being met. And I've been scratching my head wondering why all of these things I'm reading, why I can't stick to a routine, why I can't do this, when the answer is, for me, my most basic needs as a human are not being met. Deep trauma work is not landing in my body because my body doesn't feel safe enough to hold it. It doesn't feel safe enough to soften and to untangle all of the webs inside of me. And that feels like revolutionary, but in a way that it's so obvious that I think many of us overlook it. Many of us jump straight to journaling and to mindset work and a top-down healing approach, when in actuality, what we need is a bottom-up healing approach. Something that helped affirm this for me in my own life was a while back, I was talking with my grandmother and my sisters, and I had a very complicated upbringing. It was very unstable, never really had like a strong maternal influence. My grandmother was always there and she was 100% an angel, but she was always my grandmother, not my mother. And there's a very different texture to that. But she made a comment the other day that when I was really young, my hair was never brushed. And immediately in my brain, my thought was, well, I was like probably 6 or 7 when she was referencing this. And no one ever really taught me how to take care of myself, how to take care of my body. And of course I didn't brush my hair. I didn't know that it mattered. I didn't know what it meant to take care of this human vessel that I live in. And throughout my life, I'm 29 now, I have started picking up the pieces of trying to figure out what it means to take care of a human body and to be embodied and to be proud of the vessel that I live in. But it's been this journey of like, we really aren't taught, many of us, not all of us, we really are not taught how to just tend to the most basic needs of our bodies. And what I'm learning and what I feel very confident saying is that when we take care of our most basic needs of our body and our bodies feel healthy and safe, no matter what that looks like, real deep healing just happens. Not only are we taking care of our body by nourishing it and by watering it and by resting and by moving, but it's also a form of repair whenever we have lived a life not doing those things. So it's not only are we meeting those needs, but we're also repairing ourselves, repairing our mindset and rewiring our mindset and believing, shifting our beliefs to understand that this body is truly sacred and needs and deserves to be deeply, deeply cared for. You know, it's exciting. Healing for some of us is like, let's go deep. Let's dive straight into the deep end. But healing is not just about going deep. The entry point, the first step, the first act of healing that we can do is by just simply showing up for ourselves and our body. It's also the most tangible and practical thing that we can do. Meeting your basic needs is not a warm-up to healing. It is healing. It's hard because many of us were taught to skip this because of the communities we were raised in, whether it was our families, the religion, the school systems. We were taught to prioritize obedience and performance over regulation and safety. And I know for me, nobody modeled how to properly nourish and meet their own needs. So there's a lot of shame in me around doing that, around meeting my own needs, around needing co-regulation, around having basic needs as a human and asking for guidance or help or, co-regulation. I think it's really important to know that 60 to 80% of the serotonin produced in your body is actually produced in your gut. So if you're under eating, you're literally causing strain on your nervous system. Subconsciously, but still nonetheless. Even the slightest amounts of dehydration infect your memory and your cognition. Hydration is so important to our bodies and to our brains. And I know we've all heard this one, but exercise is just as effective on mild to moderate depression as an antidepressant. But it's got to be consistent, and there are some parameters around what type of exercise. But I also have been seeing just the power of running or walking and swimming as really potent options for exercise. I have started noticing that whenever I'm experiencing mood swings, I built this awareness around noticing my irritability and asking myself, am I hungry right now? Is this irritability, is this upset actually related to an unmet, biological need in my body to just eat? Am I just hungry? Is my blood sugar crashing out right now? I also, from partly the help of human design, looking into my human design type, I'm a manifesting generator with a 3-5 martyr heretic profile. But as a man gen, I operate best within a very flexible routine. And for me, that looks like having set things that I do throughout the day, but meeting them in a way that feels good for my current energy. So for me, basic routine is I ensure that I take care of my physical body. And that looks like drinking enough water, eating, nourishing my body, getting a good night's rest, and moving a little bit. And some days it's more than others, but taking the pressure off of myself by just allowing myself to say, every day I'm going to eat, I'm going to drink water, I'm going to move, and I'm going to rest. By just saying that, I found that my body feels much more open to doing all of those things versus the pressure of I'm going to go to the gym for an hour at 5 a.m. every day, or I'm going to set instead of setting those strict parameters for myself, I give myself the general direction that I want, the basic boundaries of what I expect of me showing up for myself. And I allow freedom in how that expression is. And with that freedom, I have found to be so much more consistent in the way that I show up for myself. And I tend to show up even harder because there is flexibility in the way that I'm showing up. Some days I really want to go to the gym. I want to go to the gym at 5 a.m. and freaking pump iron. But come morning, I'm tired and I've also got a million things to do, and I give myself grace. And I've noticed that whenever I approach myself with, okay, we can go to the gym later, or we can do an at-home workout, or we can go for a walk later, and I give myself options almost like a toddler, my nervous system is like, okay, I'm good with that. It doesn't have to be this perfect iteration of what everyone else is doing. It's really an art of finding what works for you, works for your body, works for your nervous system, and playing with it, literally experimenting with it. But it's like whenever I stopped putting so much pressure on myself to perform, my body was able to exhale and my body was just able to show up in the way that it can in the moment right now. So generally, there are two types of healing approaches that you can do. It's top down versus bottom up. Top down is a mind first approach. It looks like therapy, journaling, cognitive reframing, belief work. Again, mindset. And all of those things are critical and important. Journaling is so powerful. Therapy, so powerful. But again, what I'm learning is whenever we jump from where we are now and like when we are dysregulated in our bodies and our basic needs are not met, and we dive head first into a top-down healing approach, in a way, we are almost bypassing very, very important aspects of the healing process. And all of that work that we're doing, some of it might land and stick, but sustainably, we're not going to get to where we want to go without backtracking and getting back to a bottom-up approach. We can always return back to this mindset work, but we have to ground it and integrate it with the body and with safety within the body. So opposite of top-down approach is bottom-up, which is body first, which is sleep, nourishment, rest, movement, body care. You might need bottom-up healing if you've already done the intellectualizing, some of the mindset work, and you can pinpoint your trauma. You can pinpoint the where, the why, the how, the who, the when. But you're still stuck in the same decision loop. You're still stuck. You land in the same place every time. This might be telling you that there's something with your body somatically that needs to shift, that needs to happen. Or if you're chronically tired or frozen, or if you've done all the work and nothing has changed. You might need a bottom-up approach if you are chronically anxious or overfunctioning or disassociating. All of the insight in the world doesn't matter if your body does not feel safe enough to receive it. This is where I'm at in my life. It's this nervous system work. It's working with my most fundamental basic needs. Some things that I do in the morning is I don't even make my pot of coffee until I've had at least a glass of water. I've started making myself a real breakfast. I give myself some time to kind of work out the nausea, but for me, what works best is like 2 eggs. And sometimes I'll add some berries and some nuts, but like typically just very simple, basic breakfast. I want to be one of those girls who does all the fancy things like all the things. But for me, simple is best. And that works for me. Another thing is just putting some attention into my physical appearance, not in a way of being vain, but in a way of just reminding myself that I do live in a really beautiful body and I get to take care of it. I get to put makeup on it and do her hair. And whenever I show up for myself in that way, I do walk away from the mirror feeling so much more empowered and embodied. And I feel good in the skin that I'm in. And that's part of the point, right? Is to feel good in the body that we're in. And by doing this, I'm noticing that I feel less reactive and my self-talk is softer. One book that I've been reading that has been really helping with this is Call of the Wild by Kimberly Ann Johnson. Wonderful book. I'm listening to the audiobook and reading the hard copy because that's typically what I do. But she talks a lot about nervous system repair and fascia. And I think it's just a great entry point, a text to read about some of the concepts of this. But other than that, I think the biggest takeaway is asking yourself, what are my most basic needs? And if you don't know, look up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'll also be creating a graphic that you can reference. I'll post it on Instagram for you to see. And really and truly, what are your most basic needs? And what's the simplest way or most aligned way that you can meet those needs yourself? When you start meeting these needs consistently, you will start noticing a shift in your life. Like I said, this is the healing work. This is a big part of it. It's not just the journaling. It's not just the trauma work. This is part of it. And this is the softest, gentlest way we can start untangling all of that mess inside of us and start making it make sense and softening it and feeling good again in our bodies. As always, I'm so, so proud of you for showing up. And I hope you go out and take care of your body. Wake up every morning, create a list for yourself of your basic needs. Just a little check-in. Make sure you eat. Make sure you hydrate. Make sure you're getting enough rest. Make sure you are moving. If you're doing those basic things, then yes, dive into the mindset work. Until then, focus on the body. Thank you for showing up. I feel really good about this, and I'm excited what's going to come from all of this. I'm still working on planning our first event for the social experiment. I have lots of fun ideas, and I think that it's going to be a perfect community that is going to fill a lot of gaps in this space that I am really, really hoping and excited to fill. So I love you. I hope you have an amazing day. Follow my Instagram at experimentpodwithjade, YouTube experimentpodwithjade. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to like, rate, share this podcast, especially on Spotify or wherever you listen to it. Just leave a rating. If you want to leave a review, even better. And if you've got any feedback, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm very active there, and I'm going to do my best to respond to absolutely anyone who reaches out. So thank you. I love you. Have an incredible day and have an incredible week.